like to call to order the City of Cannon Falls City Council meeting for Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. Call to order and our roll call, please, Neil.
Gesme. Here. Groth.
Here.
Jepson. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Cronenberger.
Here.
Lindell. Here. Montgomery.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would entertain a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda.
Can I add?
What's the item that you would like to add?
Let me find the notes here. Well, I don't know,
Would this be something that we could put on a future agenda?
no, I would like to add what I wanted added last time, the, having all meetings,
Minutes.
agendas, minutes, times, place, posted on the city website.
If we wait and put it on the next agenda officially so it gets public notice.
I would be willing to do that.
Perfect.
And I apologize, I thought I had sent you the email asking that for this one, and I looked back and thought, no, I guess you never hit sent or something. I was trying not to include everyone else,
Oh, the open meeting.
yeah, and so I got a little confused, and then I don't know, update items are not necessarily business, but I wanted a couple updates. Would that just be under,
You could do that under, when we have time.
okay. We'll do that.
With that said, a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
I got a motion by Gesme
I'll second.
and a second by, is it Groth or Groth?
Groat with a hard T.
Oh, really? Groth.
Oh,
Groth.
wow.
Oh, all right.
Hey,
There we go, Groth.
Sorry, Lisa.
There we go. So I have a motion and a second.
Yeah,
Is that German?
it is German.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. All right, moving on to public input. Public input is intended to afford the public an opportunity to address concerns to the city council. The public input will be no longer than 30 minutes in total length, and each speaker will have no more than 3 minutes to speak. Speakers may address topics relevant to the governance of the city. Speakers must sign up in advance and must provide their name, address, and the topic they intend to address. Comments must be on topic, respectful, pertinent to city business, and adhere to the applicable data privacy rules. Any speaker that violates these rules will be asked to sit down, and if the speaker refuses to comply, they may be removed from the meeting. Speakers shall not address topics that are the subject of a public hearing. All such comments shall be made at the public hearing. The City Council will not generally act on issues raised by the public input, but may choose to schedule consideration of the item on a future agenda. Mr. Kurtz.
Good evening, thank you.
Good evening.
Greg Kurtz, Cannon Valley Fair. Just a couple things that I'd like to mention, bring up. I hope last Friday I dropped off some 100-year fair booklets. I hope you all got your booklets and had a chance to read through some memorabilia there. This is in regards to the Hannah's Bend deal, which we started this about April 15th, about a year ago. And I happened to run into it as I was on the internet just kind of going through, and this piece of property popped up saying that we owned it. So I went to the county, talked to them. They also gave me paperwork saying, yes, you do own that. I came back to town, stopped at City Hall here, and talked to Neil, and at that time said that he had known about this when he had started, a couple years ago, I guess, approximately. Hannah's Bend was given to the, as far as I can find what I've done, was given to the fairgrounds in 1930. back when 9th Street was put in, that goes by the fairgrounds, the fairgrounds didn't have the money for the assessments to pay for their portion of that, so to my understanding, it was given to the city. And a third of that park was kept by the fairgrounds. Back in 1975, the city dedicated Hannah's Bend as Hannah's Bend. And swing sets were put in, fire pits were put in, and we can't really find anywhere where anybody has asked the fairgrounds permission to put all this stuff in on, at that time, our property. 2011, there was a Obama memorial put in down there, which nobody has asked the fairgrounds that we can find, and from what I understand, from what I've asked, the city has no record of it being put in. A few years before that, there was a lift station put in, which the city needed. We can't find any paperwork where the city had came to us and asked permission to put it on our property. And I've asked, and the city doesn't seem to be able to come up with any year or any time that this was put in. So I'm just kind of wondering, you know, why so much of this has been going on. So we've been talking about this for about a year now, and paperwork's been drawn up. There's some stuff that Neil's proposed, and we've looked it over, and we've decided to sign that piece of property over to the city to donate that property that we own. And there were some conditions, and there's some streets that go through the fairgrounds that were going to get vacated, I believe. And I think I've got this right. 9th Street, York Street, Floyd, and Dowell, I believe. And throughout this whole thing, I mean, even the first day that we met with Neil and John, it's always been told us, let's work together, and I agree 100%. And I hope that's the way it will stay, the way it's been working. We've been around now for, this will be our 108th year in town. If you just notice in your book, go back to 1954, and towards the end of that year there, they talk about the attendance at the Cannon Valley Fair. One day, July 4th, one day. And the attendance for that day was 12,000 people for one day. I looked up to see what the population of Cannon Falls was. The closest I could get was 1950, and that population was 1,800 people. So I'm kind of wondering where the other 10,000 plus people came from that the Cannon Valley Fair brought to town. But as you look through there, a lot of it, even back in 1927, there was a couple days where, for a single day, it was 5,000 people in 1927. There wasn't a lot of cars on the road then, so I can imagine there was a lot of horse and buggies that were parked over at the fairgrounds for the fair. So I hope, like I say, through this whole year, I've heard time and time again that why would anything change with the city and the fairgrounds as far as working together to make this come together. From what I can see, and I think you maybe could see it too, that the fair is probably the biggest event that goes on in this town. And it's been that way for quite a few years. As far as bringing people to town, I can't say if anybody's come to the fair and decided to move to town, but I bet there's people that have thought about it. So I think we're a pretty big asset to the city. Like I say, this will be our 108th year, so we've been around. And I hope the city will work with us as they have in many, many years now and not change anything. 2 weeks ago, there was a sheet that was putting out in regards to what the city has done here. And there's some stuff on here that I don't agree with that I would like to at some time speak to somebody about. But we can do that later. I guess the last thing I have to say is we're always looking for volunteers. And see you July 1st through the 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items will be adopted under one motion as presented or may be removed for discussion and resolution as council business. Tonight's items: A, just and correct claims accounting period ending February 16th, 2023. Meeting minutes for February 7th, 2023, the work session. Item C, meeting minutes for February 7th, 2023 City Council meeting. Item D, approve new therapeutic massage practitioner license for Peyton O'Keefe. Item E, approve purchase of new squad car replacement. Item F, introduction and first reading of ordinance 390, amending City Code Section 152.648 relating to indoor storage. Is there anything that the council would like to move down? Hearing none, I would take a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Diane. Second by Mr. Jepson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries. Moving on to council business. Item A, the Emerald Ash Borer DNR grant. Diane is not present. Or is she? Oh, is she on Zoom? Oh, my apologies. My apologies.
That's actually Dan.
Dan, you've got a busy night coming up. So if you want to do a quick introduction of the Emerald Ash Borer grant, that'd be wonderful.
So yeah, back on January 17th, the council approved for us to go forward applying for an Emerald Ash Borer grant for $40,000. And after Laura started applying for the grant and doing all the paperwork, she discovered that we have about 2.5 years to satisfy the grant. So what we'd like to do is up the asking to $50,000, and we would have a couple of years of budget to add to the in-kind donation. So we're just looking for your approval to increase the amount of the application.
Any questions from the council or discussion about the applying for the Emerald Ash Borer grant for $50,000? Yes, Diane.
And whoever's doing the grant, this is not a grant that we would apply for every year then?
It is not.
Okay.
Any other questions from the council? And as you said, in kind, this would be $10,000 from the city?
Each year, so it'd be twice.
Okay. Okay.
So is that grant, you're going to apply for that grant now, it's not for sure that we would get it, or it's?
The application deadline is February 28th, so Laura's got the grant completed. It just hasn't been submitted. We wanted to wait for your blessing on this.
Well, I make a motion, we move forward.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Motion by Steve, second by Ryan. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Reports. Let's start off with the Finance Committee. Neil, would you like to take this one, or would you like me to? Okay.
We just had a couple items on the agenda. It was, we started working with the fire contracts, and there was a request to do fireworks down at John Birch Park by a private individual. And our ordinance states it's got to be an organization that can do the fireworks. So we brought it to the finance group, and they unanimously denied that request. So that's about as far as that's going to get, simply because it's against our ordinance. So, and that was the only 2 items, if I remember right.
Yep, I believe so. Planning Commission met on the same day. Who'd like to take that one?
I can take that. We had 2 items, I believe, on the agenda. I forgot my paperwork. One was a public hearing, and we approved that tonight about ordinance for amending city code relating to indoor storage, and that pretty much took care of that, and we approved that, and we had the first reading tonight, so that'll be read again at the next meeting. The other thing was, or was that it?
Diane's up there. Diane?
We had the concept plan for the
That's what it was, Endress.
Endress development.
Oh, yeah.
We just kind of discussed that for a little bit and went ahead and kind of moved that forward so Neil can start addressing some of the numbers on that. And that was it. That was it, short meeting.
Great, thank you. Library Board.
I was at that.
Okay.
They started their winter reading warm-up program and got their chairs reupholstered. It was a donation from, I think, Old Doc Molnar. And they're concerned about cleaning since Ron is retired, Ron is retiring. So that's about it for the library.
All right. We'll go around the horn for department heads. I know, Danny, you're going to have a busy night. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up?
Start time is about midnight tonight, and we'll be doing some other start times like 3 a.m. I think the alley crew is coming in, so plan on the next couple nights, the streets should be cleared and everything starting around midnight. That's
All right.
about it.
Thank you, Dan. Diane, as long as we have you, is there anything that you would like to talk about?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Diane. Chief, anything for you?
Just building off of what Dan talked about, with this storm, it's going to likely leave snow into Friday morning as far as snowfall may taper off overnight, but with the blowing. So I anticipate that there will be plowing needed this evening and the next 2. I'll work with Dan and Tony at Public Works to get definitive answers on what their plans are. But I would like to remind residents, go out and move your car if it's on the street. Get it off of the street, put it in your driveway or somewhere else. There's parking available in the city lot and Lee Chevrolet for our downtown residents. The biggest thing is we want to get those streets clear so when Public Works comes in at midnight, they can really go to work and not have to slow down to go around cars. That allows them to get everything accomplished before 6 a.m. usually, other than some of their cleanup. And then they go back and they do some of the alleys and that type of thing. But it really depends on the cooperation of our residents in making sure that those streets are clear. Otherwise, we're going to be ticketing and towing starting at midnight. And it's never fun when you come out in the morning and find your car gone. And then you pick it up at the tow company and find there's a ticket that goes with it. We want to try to avoid that if possible. So just again, remind residents, please get out and move your car. It's Minnesota. It happens every year, multiple times. Please get them off the streets. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Laura?
I've just been working on the Emerald Ash Borer grant, really, and we did start working on some of the plans for Hardwood Estates, meeting with our planner for that. So we've started the process with that. Otherwise, nothing.
Great. Neil?
Just, we're going to push our work sessions ahead for the next 2 meetings instead of, we missed that tonight. There were some people that probably needed to get home.
Yep.
So,
Right.
yeah, so we're going to just push that ahead. for the next 2 meetings, and then we'll discuss when we'll do the site trip for all the facilities and stuff. So we'll do that in the next couple times there. All right?
Great. Laura, anything from you?
Hi.
Hi.
I know I missed the work session. We won't talk about why I wasn't here, but,
We all did.
no, 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
But I know that there was the fire contract was on there, on the work session, as well as it was in the finance committee, so I was just curious as to an update as to what's going on with that.
Still in negotiation. They came to the table with a 4% increase, and we exchanged some numbers and said that we'll invite them back probably within the next couple months and see if 4% increase is satisfactory or if we need to reassess that.
Okay. And then that's something that the finance committee talks about, or do we get involved in that?
That's where the finance committee will start, and then after that, it'll come to the council.
Okay. That's it.
All right. Lisa,
I got nothing but shoveling.
shoveling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lot of-
Brian.
Yeah, I do have a couple questions. Were those people notified that park in front of Nick's? So they're gonna go down to the,
They have to have a special,
So we issue parking permits.
Okay.
The location was changed
Yep.
mid-season. So we put flyers on, and Public Works also sent letters to all the ones that had been issued permits.
okay,
And so the officers, in fact, I had a conversation with my officers this evening, just reminding them, get out there early and make contact if you find cars there. We'd much rather wake them up at 10 o'clock than midnight.
yeah, that's a.
Or
that-
2
I see
o'clock.
why you wanted to do that. That must have been a mess down
Yep.
there. Yeah, and then the second thing is, I was reading through the charter, and I'm learning all this now, so I'm an idiot, but, I was curious, I've never met her, but isn't is the lawyer supposed to be down here at the meetings, or is that
When-
an as-needed basis?
as needed.
as needed or upon request, I believe, because it would cost us money for her to be present.
Oh, okay, so that's not. in a
That's why we
con-
usually save it for
It's
items
not in
that
a
are.
contract kind of thing? Okay,
It's a money-saving thing for us.
all right. Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks.
All right. Derek? Nothing. Diane?
Okay, now I can ask for my updates.
You got 3 minutes.
I will take as much time as I would like, Mr. Gasmy. No. So, update or kind of clarification of where we're at with the Fair Board Association. We have the 2 quick claim deeds now been signed?
Correct.
Okay. So then the next step,
Everything's been signed, and the next step will now run it through. There's vacating right-of-ways and easements. That was part of that agreement, that we weren't going to go further ahead on and do all the public hearings and stuff if this wasn't going to follow
correct.
through. So now we're, I think, I talked to Diane about it today. It probably won't make the March meeting because of timing. With public hearings and stuff, we got to have a certain time between the meeting and the posting. So it's probably going to hit the April meeting, and then it'll come through, and then we'll work through the process.
Super. I just wanted to make sure we did have everything, both sides signed, sealed. And then the second thing is on the 2023 sewer, bridge, and street project, or the one that's supposed to be going forward. I noticed back on the feasibility report from the engineers back on October 26th, they had talked about the need for either land acquisition and/or easements. And I know you said at the last meeting that we're running into a little bit of problems. One landowner agreed to sell to us the land we need for that project, and then I believe Riverside Terrace LLC, we're still up in the air on what their response is. Have we received an official response from them?
We, our city attorney has sent them out a letter by email and by mail. They have to the 28th to respond,
Of February?
February.
Thank you. That's all I have.
That was sent out last week sometime, first part of last week.
Mr. Gesme?
Well, as long as everybody else is yelling at Neil.
I wouldn't consider that yelling.
DMV, have you got any correspondence from them? It's just like they quit.
You know, I don't know what's going on. I haven't emailed them for a long time. Whenever I get a blank from them, they don't respond. I don't know if it's something that we should talk to our legislature and ask them if there's what's going on, or if they're so far behind. I know they were trying to open up driver's license stuff all over the state, and if that takes priority, I think they said had 20 some of them to do. And they're probably, I don't know if they're working on them or what's going on. I don't get much of an answer.
Yeah.
But just to be clear, it's in the state's hands.
It is.
We've
It's
requested,
absolutely in the
we can't move
state's hand.
forward without their blessing, so.
They
on
they
the-
control the DMVs totally.
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, Neil.
In fact, I got a little scolding one time by the guy that don't answer me back anymore about how this process works. And I do know how it works now.
After that reminder.
Hey, Matt, I do have one thing.
Yeah.
We all have a letter here. I think we all have it from a resident
Yes, sir.
about sewer and water stuff. Is this just kind of FYI, or is this going to be in a future Public Works thing, or? Okay. Just
Well,
one.
probably, it's to all of you, so that's why we passed it out, but we'll put it on Public Works.
Okay.
For you guys to make that answer,
Okay.
or to give that answer. Yeah.
I really don't have too much other than what Dan had said and what Chief McCormick had said. Be safe. This is going to be a 2.5-day storm. Don't take it lightly, because if you do and you get stuck and you stop a plow from doing its job, then it creates the gridlock of they can't do their job and clear the way for people to get through. And I was talking with Chief Altoff today, and emergency responsiveness is a huge deal at this time because they can't guarantee how fast to get there. So if something, an emergency is to happen in the city or in our neighboring townships, they'd like to get there as fast as possible. So if you don't have to travel, please don't. Let the plows do their work. And if you do have to travel, be safe. That whole thing, if you're on 52, stay with your vehicle, stay belted, wait for responders to get there. But in these conditions, they can't guarantee. That's all the more reason to say, stay safe and stay home if you can. With that, I would accept a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Diane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Derek. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Thank you, everybody.
If we're supposed to stay home and stay safe, why are we here?